Hi guys, welcome back to April After Dark. We are now in October. I am so happy to be filming a video in October. It's the best month of the year. It's better than Christmas. I am so excited, and I'm really excited to get into tonight's tale. So, you might as well notice that I do have a guest with me tonight. This is a Raggedy Ann doll, a very old Raggedy Ann doll. Can you guess where she might be from? Yes, I know that the doll in the film The Conjuring and the movie Annabelle looks completely different than this. But if you decided to search and investigate deeper into the story of the real Annabelle doll, you would find out that she was in fact a Raggedy Ann doll from the 1970s, not a creepy Hollywood-made cinema, porcelain doll that they do have. Now, she is a creepy doll that they do have in the movie. I mean, creepier than a Raggedy Ann doll looks, but nonetheless, she was a Raggedy Ann doll. And of course, I have had her for a while. I actually have two Raggedy Ann dolls. One of them is actually more size appropriate to the real Annabelle doll. I will insert a photo of the real Annabelle doll with Lorraine Warren, a very well-known paranormal investigator, one of the most famous paranormal investigators that there ever was. But she was my first purchase, and I wasn't satisfied. After a while, I was thinking, no, something is wrong. This is not the one that I mean, she is one that I'm probably going to make my own box, and I'll get into the story about why there's a box involved, but she's actually going to be something that I make into something else. She is not the one that looks size-wise identical to Annabelle, but I really wish I could find her. I just don't know where she is. We have moved a lot of stuff around, so she's in the house somewhere. But without further ado, let's get into the story of Annabelle, the possessed doll. What's that? It's getting really cold in here. Why are the lights out? Is this camera even focusing? I mean, oh my god. I don't. Oh my god. Oh my god. What is that? Gotcha. So, this is obviously the real Annabelle doll that is the one that I think is more of a complete and perfect replica of the real Annabelle doll. The other one that I have is Annabelle Jr. She was my very first Raggedy Ann doll, and she is much smaller, I thought, and this one, after looking at pictures over and over again of the real true Annabelle doll that is located at the Warrens Occult Museum, this one looks more proper to size. As you can see in the picture that is of Lorraine actually holding her up, that's when you can really tell that that doll was pretty big. Anyway, everyone's entitled to one good scare during Halloween, right? Most of you know that in the Warner Brothers film of Annabelle, it depicts a couple that have the doll, but that's not the true real story. They actually veered away from the real story of Annabelle. The beginning of The Conjuring and the beginning of Annabelle as well is the same scene, but it's showing three people that, you know, had this encounter with this doll, and that's how it, you know, got into the hands of Ed and Lorraine Warren and how it got into where it is now. So that was the real story. That's the story that I thought that they were going with, but that's not what they went with. Back in the 1970s, a mother went to an antique store. I've heard it called a thrift store or a hobby store or a secondhand store, so you know, you get the idea. She went into a store, found this Raggedy Ann doll, bought it for her daughter Donna, whose birthday was going to be approaching in the next few days. She was going to be 28 years old. Her and her friend Angie, Donna and her friend Angie, lived in an apartment, and they were studying to be nurses. They were almost finished with their program, and they lived together, so Donna's mother bought this doll for her, knowing that Donna loved dolls growing up. So Donna gets the doll and she thinks she loves her. She thinks she's adorable. She puts her on her bed and doesn't really think much else of it. You know, subtle changes started happening very soon after. They would find the doll, just stuff that you would write off, like, you know, her arms would be closed like this, and the next moment they saw her, they'd be open, or the same thing with, you know, her felt legs would be crossed or they'd be uncrossed. So it was just subtle changes like that, which I can relate to. I mean, I've gone into rooms and thought, I swear I didn't leave that like that, but you know, you also think I probably did it without realizing it, or maybe somebody else did it and they don't remember. It's nothing that gives you a lot of merit to think, oh, I've got a haunted doll in my hands, or something's amiss here. You know, you don't think anything of it. So at first, the changes were very subtle, and they were stuff, like I said earlier, that you could just write off, or you just think, it's, you know, it's nothing, it's nothing. But then, a few weeks later, the doll became more fully mobile. They would leave her on the sofa and come back, and the doll would be laying on her bed, sitting up. Or the vice versa. She would leave the doll in the bed, shut the door, leave, come back, the doll was sitting on a chair by the front door. One time, reportedly, she was in the front chair as if she was kneeling. Like, I don't really know how to picture that in my mind without it looking like a puppet, but that is what has been reported that she had done. All these things were happening, and, you know, they thought that maybe somebody was playing a prank, so they started to put tape on doors, move floor mats to see if there would be footprints on stuff, and lock doors, and hoping that maybe they would catch somebody coming in and playing, you know, a prank on them. And they found nothing. But the doll was still moving. The doll was still, you know, going in places that she shouldn't have been going, like without somebody physically moving the doll. Then it gets creepier. They start finding this really, really old paper known as parchment paper. I'm not even sure where you can honestly find parchment paper. It's not something that it's not your run-of-the-mill paper that you find at Office Depot or, you know, your type of supply store. It's just not. But they found these yellowed old parchment paper hidden around the house, and there are messages written on them in childlike handwriting in pencil. The messages were, "Help us," or "Help Lou." The strange thing about "Help Lou" is that Donna and Angie had a very long-time friend named Lou. Lou never ever liked this doll. He kind of had a bad taste in his mouth about this doll. He said there's something weird and eerie about her. Something is deeply disturbing about this doll. I don't like it. I wish you guys would get rid of it, give it to somebody else, throw it away. So he already had this distaste for this doll. But nobody would listen to him. As the notes started to appear, I mean, they still thought that somebody might be breaking in, so they continued with their, you know, traps to see, and nothing would come amiss. Until one day, Donna came home and went to the bedroom, and there was this red, almost, it looked like blood all over her chest, all over the doll's chest, and it was on the hand of the doll. And you know, you can't explain that. It seemed like it was coming from her. That was the last straw for Donna. So she gathered up and got a psychic medium to come over to the house and do a reading on the doll and to try to help them figure out what was up with this doll. The psychic medium does a seance and figures out that the property that they're on, there was a little girl, a 7-year-old girl by the name of Annabelle Higgins, who had died on the property so many years back. And she had, you know, clinged to this doll and really, really liked Donna and Angie, knowing that they were nurses and they liked to help people. And she said that, you know, she wanted to stay with them and she just wanted to feel loved, and she had, you know, she had trust in them. You know, so that was all that this was, right? So Donna and Angie agreed to, oh, you know, we want to help her out. We want to make her feel loved. We'll treat her like a little girl, and she can stay with us. She is allowed to be here. She is allowed to haunt this apartment. And that is the story of that. So they go home and they finally, you know, since the little girl's name was Annabelle Higgins, they named the doll Annabelle. This could have been the biggest mistake that they ever made. Lou became even weirder and more against this doll after they allowed this to happen. He couldn't believe that they did this. He couldn't believe that they let this ghost live inside this doll. You know, he just had a bad feeling. I feel like Lou was probably around this doll and just had a, you know, like when you meet a person or you go to a place and you just feel this overwhelming sense of negativity. I feel like maybe that's what Lou was feeling when he looked at this doll or was around this doll. And I think the doll, Annabelle, knew that he didn't like him. Lou goes to bed one night and he starts having these horrifying nightmares about the doll. He dreamt that he woke up, he couldn't breathe. He looked down at the foot of the bed and Annabelle was standing there. She slowly started crawling up his leg until she got all the way up to his throat. She put her doll hands around his throat and started choking him to death. He couldn't breathe. All the blood rushed to his head. He felt like his brain was going to explode. He wound up blacking out, woke up, and said, I know that the doll did this. I knew that it was Annabelle. This was not a run-of-the-mill nightmare that I had. Then he began to worry about Donna and Angie and their well-being. He went over there the next day, helping Angie pack for a trip they were going to take. When they were helping put everything together, they heard this rustling noise coming from Donna's room. Donna was not home. Lou goes in there to investigate to make sure that it's not somebody breaking in, because that's what you naturally would think. He goes in there, looks around, nothing is, you know, everything looks fine and normal, except Annabelle was stashed into a corner of the room. He goes over towards the doll, slowly. Comes up to the doll, and all of a sudden he feels like there is somebody standing behind him. A dark presence. Like when you feel like someone's staring at you, you can feel it on your neck. So he turns around, nothing is there, and all of a sudden he clings to his chest in writhing pain. He is doubled over, and what appears to be underneath his shirt is 7 claw marks. 3 on his chest and 4 going across his neck. Even though the pain had him completely doubled over, these scratch marks disappeared within 2 days, completely healed. By this point, Donna has said, okay, I've had enough, and she contacts a Episcopalian priest. The priest turns them over to Ed and Lorraine Warren. Ed and Lorraine Warren get involved, and they become very intrigued by this doll story. They come over, and they basically, you know, listen to everything that's gone on, every single detail. They record it all, it's in their case file. They come to the conclusion that Annabelle is not who she's saying that she is. This is not the spirit of a little girl. This is the spirit of an inhuman spirit, a demon. The demon had plans to take over Donna or Angie's soul and become completely possessed by the demon that was using Annabelle as a falsity. Ed and Lorraine Warren take the doll. They exorcise the house because they knew that the doll was trying to possess Donna in the end, and you know, the house has got bad energy around it, so they exorcise the house. They take the doll with them. A little bit nervous about it because normally they would have to go down a highway at 60 miles per hour. Ed decides to put the doll in the back seat and go the long way home because he doesn't know what the doll will do to the car. As they're driving, of course, the brakes even fail a little bit. The engine keeps turning on and off. The power steering goes out several times on them. When the brakes started to go out, he grabbed his vial of holy water and liberally poured it all over the doll. This kept the doll at bay until they got back to their home in Connecticut. They put her into the museum of all these dark things that have been taken from places that where possessions were, where murders were, where demons were, all this stuff that's in this Warren Occult Museum. They put her in there, but she would leave from there and appear in the house different times. Very, very, very creepy. So, another priest wants to know about Annabelle. He comes over, he taunts the doll, he looks at it, shakes it and throws it and says, "You're no more powerful than God. Nothing is more powerful than God. You can't do these things to people." Big mistake. Ed asks him to leave. The priest drives back to the rectory, but he doesn't make it back to the rectory. He crashes head on into a tractor. He does live, but the only thing he can remember when he told Lorraine later on what happened is, "I looked in a rearview mirror and all I can imagine is the face of that doll appearing in the mirror." Finally, Ed and Lorraine wind up putting her in a wooden enclosed case with a cross, bound her hands down with it, and they even have a priest come by and bless it twice a day. Everything in this museum actually, but Annabelle in particular. Lorraine has been quoted as saying that she is probably the worst thing that's in that museum, and there are a ton of artifacts in there, a ton. Stuff that even looks scary. An Annabelle doll like this does not look scary. I mean, it's a Raggedy Ann doll, but you know, little do you know what the kind of power this doll has. So they have her in a case, enclosed, and you can come visit her. Well, the only thing that you shouldn't do when you come visit her is taunt her. There is a couple said to have come in there, and very, very young, and the boyfriend, because he had a girlfriend there with him, he was tapping on the case and saying, "Do your worst." He heard the story about Lou and how he was scratched. He goes, "Scratch me. Do your worst. I don't believe in you. I don't think you can actually do these things." Ed, of course, gets really, really angry and worried and asks him, "You gotta leave right now." The man and his girlfriend leave. They get on their motorcycle and they leave. The guy winds up hitting a tree head on, dies 3 hours later. The girlfriend does not die, but she does stay in a hospital injured for over a year. So this doll has caused lots of harm, lots of death, and lots of, you know, scare for a lot of people. This doll is not something that should be out in the public for people to touch and mess with. Tony Spera, who kind of took over Ed's spot as far as, you know, being a curator of the museum and, you know, being with Lorraine and being their, you know, sidekick and helper and everything, is also known to have said that people have, this man somewhere offered him $1 million to have this doll. Tony said, "No, the doll is not for sale. It would be a terrible idea to put this doll out in the public where, you know, whatever damage it could do would be unleashed upon the world." The guy even offered him $2 million, and he said, "There's no price on this doll. There is no price. There is no way I could sell it. She's not for sale, and it'd be so foolish of me to sell the doll." So that's how serious they are about this doll. I mean, $2 million is quite a bit of money for a Raggedy Ann doll. But she is not for sale. Okay, and I have a bit of other, you know, interesting information that I wanted Broody44 to know. Hashtag Team Broody44. She is also a huge, huge fan of Annabelle, just like I am. This is my favorite haunted doll story. She is a doll that I would like to be in the presence of just one time, just so I could say that I did it, and just for my, you know, it's on my bucket list to meet Lorraine and go to that museum and hear her stories and talk to her and, you know, see this doll through my own eyes, get a picture with it if I possibly could. But this weekend I went to a Bring Out Your Dead tour thing with Chad Kalick he was from Paranormal State. He also has a documentary, American Ghost Hunter. He's made several documentaries and they are all really good. American Ghost Hunter, he worked with Lorraine Warren for about 5 years on this case that was his own case about his mother that he thought was possessed from living in this house they lived in that was reportedly haunted. And this is where he had his moment of clarity and that, you know, the paranormal does exist and these things can happen. I did talk to him a little bit on this tour the other night, and he was such a gracious host, and so was his friend Justin that was hosting it as well. It was a great experience. I will definitely be going out again whenever they come back around, but I did, of course, ask him about Lorraine Warren, and did he get to go to the museum, and did he get to see Annabelle, and he told me he did see the museum. And I asked him, so did you like feel did it feel creepy in there and eerie? And he goes, oh yeah, definitely. And he said Lorraine was a very sweet lady, very, very interesting person. She let him look at case files of Ed's, and this is where it gets kind of crazy. In the case files that are tucked away, Chad read about the Annabelle story and the stuff that's only for records. Like, no one else is going to see this stuff. But Annabelle is actually behind 9 panes of glass. Did not know that. 9 panes of glass, and every pane is blessed by a different priest. Also, in the case file, reportedly by Ed Warren, Annabelle was also known to have been running around the hallway with several knives in her hand. Can you believe it? And Chad told me that she was actually one of the inspirations for Chucky the doll. There's so many similarities between Chucky and Robert. Well, you know, the idea of a doll running around the hallway with knives is definitely something that you could totally see Chucky doing. But come to find out, Annabelle was the inspiration for Chucky. Child's Play. I had to tell you that. I couldn't wait to get that information out here, and I'm hearing it verbatim from somebody who knows Lorraine Warren and has been there and read actual case files on Annabelle. So I wanted to give a shout out to my girl, my favorite YouTuber that does paranormal stuff, one of my biggest inspirations, and hopefully I can meet you someday. Maybe we can meet up at the Warren Occult Museum and see Annabelle together. That'd be, oh, amazing. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that I didn't scare you guys earlier. I do have 2 Annabelle dolls, like I said, and actually, you saw Annabelle Jr. earlier, and she is actually, you know, quite smaller than this one. Look, just look at the face. This one, I can barely keep its head up. It's so big. But when you look at pictures, that is more the size of the real Annabelle doll, which actually is kind of creepy. That doll was that big. And its head, like, I can never keep her head up. But she is also named Annabelle. This one I planned on putting in a enclosed case, like making my own and putting that devil tarot card next to it and some, you know, crosses and stuff, and have her be like my own prop because she's the littler one and she's the one I originally got, but then I wasn't satisfied. So this is my real Annabelle doll, and she's gonna stay just like she is, but let me show you just how big this doll really is. Okay, take a look at this. Look how big this girl is, man. Look at her feet. Then there's the bloomers, then there's the dress, then there's the apron. I mean, oh, and she's even got the I love you thing on her. I got this one from eBay. She wasn't even as expensive as this other one, but she is huge, and she actually came from Connecticut, if I'm not mistaken, and the other one came from New Jersey, so not by the same person. And yes, but I mean, I can't, I mean, she kind of goes down to my kneecap, and I'm 5'1", so this doll is very, very, very big. I mean, look at that. Look at her, I mean, her head is like, yeah. So, Annabelle Jr. Annabelle, and I will be seeing you for many more videos in October. As always, happy haunting, stay scared, and have a very creepy night. Bye!